You're recording?
Listener, are you
Listener,
listening?
are you listening? Oh my gosh! Okay, I realized the last couple episodes, since we received that listener, we're coming in hot. I'm coming for you right now. 17 seconds in. Let's go. I realized that since we received that absolutely beautiful review from our favorite listener, I haven't been badgering
Our
favorite listener ever. I haven't been badgering other listener to leave us a review. So at 40 seconds in, this is me telling you, if you love us, leave us a review. This is Romance Writers Therapy. Thank you for being here. We're really happy here.
I love it to imagine that this is someone's first ever episode of our show. And they're just like, well, I don't know if I love you yet. God, get to the stuff already.
It's 1 minute in. Give us some time, okay? Only I get to badger you this early in the episode, okay?
Okay.
Hi, Kate.
So that's Marty V.
I'm Marty V.
And I'm Kate Pryor. You're Marty V.
Yes.
I'm
Marty.
I'm Marty.
Harker. Remember when we used to do silly voices?
How are you doing? I don't know if we would I think we would just become utterly unintelligible with the amount of voices we lead.
There was the one I thought was I thought it was like Hannibal Lecter, and you were like, I thought you were doing a pirate.
My God, my mind, immediately I was like that, my fan. like that kind of thing, but then layered on top of all the other voices we do, and then they would just get denser and denser and utterly unredeemable.
Yes.
Is just nonsense.
Yes.
This is just disturbing ASMR at this point.
All ASMR is disturbing.
More than usual.
I did not realize
Marty's firm stance against ASMR.
I did not realize that when I learned about ASMR, because I was like, oh, okay, well, people enjoy it. That's cool. I didn't realize I would ever have a vendetta against it. But I do.
Yeah.
I did not see that for me.
I don't think most people...
But hearing is such a strong sense for me, right? And I think it is for lots of people. But so when things are offensive to my hearing, I have a harder time with this. And I definitely don't like mouth sounds. And a lot of ASMR are mouth sounds.
Yeah, no, I'm with you on the mouth sounds.
I don't like it.
Austin does this thing in his sleep, so I can't even get mad at him for it.
I'm
real mad about it.
What does he do?
He can't stop it. It's not like I can poke him and be like, "Hey, shut up."
Yeah.
No.
Rude. You know how I hate that sound.
He just makes some mouth noises
yeah.
like that, and I'm just like, my God, it's like fingernails on a chalkboard, and I'm trying to sleep.
That would be terrible.
Usually it's only once or twice, but if he just keeps doing it, I will shake him and be like, you need to take a drink of water for my sanity.
I just thought of should I decide to do only one bed trope for Lily, her partner having something like that, where she can be because she's gonna be Lily and not reasonable about it, right? Yeah, that would be fun antics.
I dig it.
I'm just gonna ruin Lily's life. I'm going to just keep on antagonizing her, and I'm very much looking forward to it. But Kate, what's going on?
Ooh, well, I've been nanoing. You know that. I got the COVID booster 2 or 3 days ago.
Yeah, that's why we're recording late.
The first day.
And I had to vote.
Yeah, the first day I was like, oh my God, you had to?
No, I had to vote also, because, you got the booster, I had to vote, and so Tuesday was just, no good. For us recording. Voting was fine.
No, yeah, I remember that. It was bad. I'm sorry, the audio just cut in and out.
Oh, sorry.
Turn your volume up. No, you're good.
Okay, but Tuesday, you were saying you got the booster.
Tuesday. Actually, no, I think it was Monday I got the booster, and Monday I was totally fine. Tuesday, just a very sudden downhill, like, I started out like, I'm gonna be fine, and it was like 5 p.m., and then it was like 6 p.m. I was like, I feel like death warmed over.
This is where I die.
Oh, I was being so dramatic about it.
Dude, but, like, it sucks to get, like, a vaccine and not be well.
Yeah, no, the vaccine, like, you're like, why did I do this? Oh my gosh. Like, I know it's for me, but oh my god, it sucks.
Well, and, like, yeah, COVID sucked. But the vaccine sucked a lot, too, sort of thing, so. Yeah. I have to get boosted, though. I'm currently dealing, listener, I might sound funny. I'm currently dealing with, like, a cough and sinusy stuff, so. But I've got the most.
It's that season.
It is. I've got the most disgusting cough drops on the face of the earth at my disposal. They are truly disgusting, but they do a good job. It's very frustrating.
Courtesy of our second favorite listener.
What was that?
Courtesy of our second favorite listener.
Mom bought them for me. I'm concerned about her palate, but but it was really nice of her to get them. They've lasted me a long time because I have to, like, really build myself up and ask, like, do I really need this? Because they taste so bad.
They do make other cough drops.
Yeah, I'm not gonna, but, like...
But you... you would have to leave the house
exactly.
to go get them.
I'm pot committed at this point. Like, gonna finish these goddamn cough drops. So, Kate. Oh, should I tell you how I am? You said you're nanoing.
Yeah, how are you? I'm nanoing.
Mm-hmm. Is there anything else you want to say?
I'm a little bit seasonal depressioning. So I'm trying to stay afloat with all of that. And so, like, most years when I nano, I, like, trip day one, and then I'm like, all right, I'm out. And surprisingly, this year I have been, like, keeping up with it, except for, like, the last 2 days where, like, I just was utterly useless with the booster shot and just so dramatic about it. And, like, no, I'm failing nano. But then, like, today I made a good bit of headway, like, getting, like, back to, like, a good enough. Yeah. Like, I'm not fully word count, like you're supposed to be at, like, 15,000 words today. I'm at, like, 13.5 thousand words.
So you could still build that back.
Sense?
Yeah, absolutely.
I want the math to work out. That's not the way you say the math thing.
What? I understood you're at 13.5 thousand words.
Is that
right?
People say it like, oh, I'm at 1,300, or like, no, that's not it. They say I'm at 1,300 and a half. No. Fuck. I don't know what I'm trying to describe to you, so I'm just gonna stop.
1,350 is where you're at, right?
Yes. Okay. Something like that,
but
yeah.
13.5 thousand at that point would be incorrect. So it'd be like 13.500.
No, it is 13,500.
Okay. Yeah, absolutely. Because
so
1,350 is not a lot of words in 9 days.
Yeah, I was like, hold
You'd
on.
You'd be so far behind. Oh, man.
So far behind.
We are doing great.
Oh, I thought we were just writing 500 words in NaNoWriMo.
That's it. Done. You surpassed your goal.
Yeah. Okay. So, you're going to tell me more about the cough drops?
No, I think I'll move on from the cough drops. Even though they are truly offensive. Okay, how I'm doing. I'm doing a lot of editing. I'm trying really hard to make my deadline by the time this has to go to the anthology.
Okay.
My biggest concern right now is that we might end up having to host Thanksgiving. And yeah, that would be catastrophic to my progress. Because Andrew is, like, super bogged down with work right now. And it's like this whole month is going to be that way for him. I'm super bogged down with work. So the idea of hosting Thanksgiving is, like, I don't know how that's going to happen. Like, we both we literally don't have time for it. But, like, my sister-in-law's oven is on the fritz and, like, stuff like that. So it's like, it might be us.
Oh, no.
We would have to do so much work to get our house in order. Like, so much work. It would be a lot of work. It'd be great to have it done.
Well, yeah, it's always great to have it done, but, like, the process to get it
and,
there.
Like, also, like, I was planning on that being December. Like, because we host Christmas. So, like, I was planning on that being a hyper-focus in December when I no longer had this deadline looming over my head. Because the deadline's due December 1st. But yeah, so that's what's going on there. I'm not at the hardest part of the work that has to be done, right? I'm at the part of the book that I have read a lot. So it's a bit harder. Okay. Like, I've already kind of, like, tweaked things. But I am happy with, like, quite a few changes I'm making and stuff like that. I don't know. It's not as satisfying an experience as editing usually is for me. But I also usually have a cleaner first draft than this. I also usually don't have quite so many deadlines on top of each other. And that's taxing my brain, as I have been saying for a while. Like, just months and months of me saying, like, my brain needs a break. And being like, not yet. Still a couple weeks to go. So...
really striving for that finish line.
Oh my gosh, seriously. Well, and, like, that's part of the thing is, like, I've worked so hard to get to that finish line that, like,
giving yourself a break early would feel wrong.
Well, and, like, if I don't make it, then I have gone through all of this for nothing.
No, you haven't.
Yeah, not for nothing. But
you've still got everything you accomplished up till this point. Yeah, I would
still have a whole ass book. And, like, I get your point, and you're not wrong.
You just gave me, like, a whole mental health pep talk.
Shut up, Kate.
Like, turn around.
That was for you.
For me. You don't get mental health pep talks.
No, my brain just better show up. No, it's true. It's true. I was talking to you. I'm like, hey, do you have a mirror nearby? Like, you might need to say that. Okay, so Kate and I are going to talk about the process of writing romances over and over. Yeah? Yeah!
No, we're not.
Psych, we're going to talk about something else. No, we're not.
Sweet. Yeah, no, we're going to talk about, like, the emotional effects that, like, just our kind of personal observations.
Mm-hmm. And then...
obviously, about...
and then also about, like, the process of, like, deciding your characters and, like, seeking out how to, like, resolve their needs and stuff like that, too. So it will be something that's applicable to you, too, listener, but, like, it's also mostly about us. So...
yeah, that's the podcast summary. It's a little bit applicable to you, but it's very much just about us.
No, go leave us a review. Maybe not on this episode.
Yeah,
I don't know.
If I want to listen to this.
I feel like I shouldn't have put that right at the front of the episode. You might have to cut it.
Do you want me to let you preview it afterwards?
I think I'll have a sense of it after we're done with this conversation, like whether or not we want to come in that hard.
Yeah. All right. We'll see. Let's see
how we do. Up. Yeah. If we give them anything worth spending their time on. I'm sorry, listener. I'm really sorry to cough in your ear.
No, you're good. I am also coughing in your ear. I hope it's just not registered.
Poor listener.
Poor listener. I try to edit these out.
You do a good job. I've noticed that before. Yeah.
Yeah? I know there was, like, one episode I was definitely sick, and then, like, sometimes when I edit an episode, I think, I'm just gonna put the main pieces together, and then, like, send it off into the world without, like, a thorough examination of, like, how, like, any coughs or, like, long pauses. And so there's definitely a couple episodes with that I was in, like, just a burned out state of, like, no, I'm not fixing these. And then I realized, like a week after it published, like, I was very sick when we recorded that. It probably sounds terrible.
I don't distinctly remember that, so that's good.
Well, apologies to listener if they do.
Listeners really involved in this episode.
They need to, like, take a seat.
Yeah. We gotta talk about something, listener.
Yeah.
Chill out.
Chill. So when I wrote this episode prompt, I was thinking about, like, how... I'm reading the wrong prompt. You know when you're a kid and, like, you consume a bunch of media that's all, like, that talks about love, but, like, does it in a very, like, weird woo-woo kind of way, and it's, like, not really explaining, like, you know, doesn't, like, actually, like, get into, like, what it is. And then, you know...
Like, it kind of
then,
expresses
like,
love on, like, a level a kid could understand.
Or, like, it kind of makes it, like, into that, like, magical fairy tale kind of version of love, and it's like, oh, it's so deep and mysterious and, like, all that, and you're like, okay, cool, I'll get it when I'm older.
It like, gets packaged as, like, now you're happy. Like, now life is easy and you're happy.
Yeah, that too. Mm-hmm. Yeah, like, the oversimplistic view of it, the over-mysticized view of it, and then, like, you do also, like, when you're a young adult and you see a lot of, like, people posting, oh my god, being in a relationship is so hard, but, like, the ups and downs, guys, am I right?
Yeah, yeah.
You know, like, you see that posted on Facebook constantly.
Yeah.
You're just like, my god. All right, guys. And, I don't know, so you get all these different worldviews, and, like, when you're writing a romance novel, I don't know, I always struggle with, like, the idea that you have, like, if you're writing a book, you're trying to say something. Mm-hmm. And, like, I think this is definitely something we've talked about in our writing group a lot, that, like, not everyone feels that way about writing. So I have such a hard time comprehending what it looks like to write a book that isn't saying something, or isn't trying to make a point somewhere.
Same. You know? I don't know how I could possibly do that. Does that make sense? Like, I don't know how I could not express something that I feel is important at some point in the book.
Right, exactly. And so, like, whenever I find myself, like, setting up these big things that are necessary to romance, like the key elements of each character has, or even if it's just one side of the couple, or, you know, however many people you're going to involve, like, you can have, like, 1, 2, 3 characters, etc., with an internal wound that talks about, like, their relationship to love, which their relationship with themselves, and how they receive and give affection, you know? Mm-hmm. Then you kind of have to solve that problem for them. And then you kind of have to, like, put yourself through the rigmarole of, like, well, if I didn't trust, you know, my partner to not cheat on me, how would I recover from that? What are the steps to, like, healing that emotional wound? Or what a person need to feel secure after, so all right, so your turn.
No, I'm still listening.
No, I've run out of thought.
I was seriously just enjoying you having the podcast, and I was just painting my nails listening. And
No!
It was like I was listening to a podcast in lifetime. I have a really pretty green on. It's like a forest green. It's really pretty.
I'm back to pink.
Oh, I love their pinks.
I do want to keep going, like, with red and, like, you know, holiday season stuff, but I needed a little pink for, like, a minute.
I really want to get, like, a fresh gold, and I'm thinking about adding, like, some red to this, because it is a very seasonal pink, or seasonal
sink.
A seasonal green. But no, I really love, okay, so, like, tying in, like, what you were talking about, how, like, an adolescent comprehension of love differs from, like, an adult experience, right?
Right. Now I remembered why I brought that up.
You remember why? I want to hear.
I dropped it in the middle of, like, that and moved on.
Yeah, I know. And then I was like, okay. And, like, as I was, like, trying to figure out, like, how to go back to what you were actually saying. Because I swear to God, I was listening. I just wasn't, like, having a critical thought. I was just enjoying it. So, tell me what point you were making.
Also, like, You know, I always thought, like, okay, so, like, when I get older, like, I will have it figured out. But, like, when you start writing romance novels, it's like, do I have it figured out enough to, like, make a statement on the nature of love in such a way that, like, is not unquestionable, like is a solid thesis, you know,
Absolutely.
kind of thing.
Enough
like,
to
not
convince
like
people that, like, love is real.
I know what I'm talking about. Yeah. But, like, without coming off like Lucy from the Peanuts.
Aw, yeah.
Is it Lucy? Is it Lucy? Who has the Doctor is in sign?
Lucy. Sally is the blonde girl, Charlie's sister, right?
Yes. Right.
Okay. So, like, what mechanics are you pulling in to, like, make it convincing, right? Like, is that kind of the question we're asking?
Yeah. Like, what do you do when you... Well, I can just keep talking forever, you know.
Do you want me to talk, or do you want to talk?
No.
I talked so much in the last one. Yeah, no, I'm happy.
You did. You carried the episode.
Well, I did not stop for breath either. Like, I just was like, here are all of my thoughts. Like,
that is the important part. Like, you can't let me interject if you want to keep
going. We're filibustering this podcast.
I come from a family of people who only interrupt each other.
Same.
Like, no sentence ever gets finished.
Same. My poor husband, he can't, like, he's like, listening to you talk to your mother is the most distracting event. Because we have, like, okay, doesn't matter. Keep going. You tell me.
No, you're gonna. Waiting for you to tell me, like, what
mechanics I use?
Like, that conversation. Yeah.
Oh, what my mom and my conversation looks like?
With that. Yes.
It's a kind of a lot like this. Where there's, like, 3 different, like, narrative threads. And, like...
Okay, yeah.
I'll be like, ooh, and I'll pick one up. And then I'll put in 3 new ones, right? And then Mom will go back to, like, one of her 3 while also commenting on another. And we are, like, talking at a speed that is just ridiculous, right? Like, there's no, like, calm, thoughtful, like, we aren't considering our words. It is just, I mean... The foot is on the pedal and it's to the floor. Like, we are just full speed ahead. And then at any moment, something physically in the room could distract us and all the threads just fall and we pick up 3 new threads and we're now talking about that. Like, it is, I mean, it's not for the inexperienced, okay? Like, you condition for this shit.
You need to hold all these different moving parts in your hands. Absolutely.
And then, like, every other, like, sentence starts with, oh, that's why I was saying. So, yeah.
Yeah. Oh, my God.
Okay, so finish your thought.
So, like, yeah. Okay. My thought, whatever it was. The thinking behind it was... The thinking behind the prompt was that I find myself often kind of writing from... little, like, past relationships, like, you know, things that I've learned becomes, like, the reason, like, that relationship didn't work out, and then it'll become, like, one of my character's inner wounds, you know, and then, like, kind of talk about, like, what thinking needed to happen to, like, get past it, and it's, like, a little bit of, like, therapy for myself, like, while I'm doing it. But that, at one point, it definitely became, like, a fear of, like, what if I run out of, like, things to, like...
like, past relationships to work through?
Yeah, like, what if I run out of, like, little problems that, like, I find in myself that I, you know, can therapy my way through? You know, I can write my way out of.
Okay, so I don't necessarily have experience with that, but I do have some experience with, like, solving one problem, being like, all done, and then realizing, like, no, there's a whole new layer. So,
oh, no!
There's always deeper. There's a deeper pull.
Unfortunately, it can always go deeper.
Yeah, I was talking to my aunt recently, and she was like, when does it stop? Like, when does all this work stop? I'm like, I don't think it does. Like, I think it's a lifelong endeavor, and you just keep on going. Because, like, who we are is formed at such a young age, and, like, da-da-da-da. And I went on for a while, and then in the end, I was like, I'm sorry if that was really discouraging. Anyway, Because I really went for a while.
I'm so curious to, like, what the work was in that context.
I mean, it was just...
If you're okay.
I mean, it was just talking about, like, how our past influences, like, our adult behavior. Right?
Ooh,
yeah.
Okay. Yeah.
Yeah. So, it was pretty fatalistic in a lot of ways.
A little bit.
But, like, I don't know, because, like, there's, for one thing, you can repeat a wound, right? Just because you've written it before doesn't mean you can't write it again. And then also, you might get to a point where it's, like, no longer, you know, mining from you. It's now having a deeper understanding of, like, someone else's experience and how that shaped them. You know what I mean? Like, not that, like, I don't write about people I know. I'm just saying, like, I tend to not feel like I write about me at all. Right?
Okay, interesting.
Yeah. Like, there are things that are important to me in there, but a lot of times I don't feel like me as a character, like, is motivated in the book. Does that make sense? And so
Kind of,
because, like, I was telling Kate that writing this second chance romance, like, after divorce, like, I feel like it kind of really messed with my head a bit. I never would have thought that this would be the trope and the storyline that, like, made me feel like I was, like, stumbling into things. I didn't intentionally make Alicia anything like me, but she kind of is. And so,
Right.
like, feeling like I identify with her in that state, I think kind of just warped my brain. Right? Like, I feel like it might be the way, like, method actors sometimes have a hard time getting out of that method.
Exactly, yeah. No, 100%.
Does that make sense?
No, it totally does. Like, you're really putting yourself in that
You're so
mindset.
quiet. Are you there?
And, like, I think what... Am I just, like, pointed the wrong way?
I can hear you now. Okay.
Oh, okay.
That is
It's so
weird.
What happened?
I don't know, but it was, like, a terrible time for you to go silent. I was like,
oh, I'm so sorry. Like no.
And then there was absolute silence for so long.
The way that Discord calls have, like, fully gaslit us sometimes, like, you know how, like, we've definitely done this a number of times where, like, we'll, like, share our chapters in our critique group, and then, like, some people will, like, mute themselves, and so, like, you know, they don't laugh in the middle of, like, a chapter at a joke, and then, like, you know, throw the person who's reading off, you know, like, it's polite. But, like...
I mean, except for sometimes we don't do that either.
Unmute yourself. Sometimes we don't do that, and we just laugh anyway, and it's fun. But, like, sometimes we mute ourselves to be polite. And then, like, for the number of times that, like, I fully, like...
Gave input?
I gave someone input. Like, someone would, like, say things like, so what do you think about this chapter? Yeah, I think it's lacking character development for these two, blah, blah, blah. And say things and respond, like, and say things as if they were responding to the exact things I was saying.
So funny.
And, like, I would go on for, like, 10 minutes being like, yeah, and then you need to do this, and I think if you just reinforced right here, and, like, and then, like, someone interrupts you, like, all right, I guess no one... And you're like, wait!
Doing all of the things.
Oh my god. Discord.
For real.
Get your shit together.
Okay. But, yeah. So, like, how we internalize our characters' wounds and their feelings. And how that can get real brain fucky.
Yeah. And, like, especially if it's... I don't know. I never set out to, like, give a character one of my own wounds. But then it's always like, oh... Yeah, all right. I guess that's been sitting here a while. Time to deal with it.
Not at all. I'm thinking,
Okay.
That
you have to make a little beep boop thinking sound.
Beep boop,
beep boop.
Is that because, like, unconsciously write that wound, or is it because the wounds that tend to be used in romance are so relatable?
Ooh, good question. I have no idea.
I lean towards relatable.
You think it's because it's really... See, I have been like really turning over in my mind, like, do like the way that we think about certain things, is it like, do we just keep using the same set of words to express like a thing? And that's how it's shaped in our minds?
I definitely think that there are certain words that we associate to certain feelings and like stuff like that. Like if I were to talk about being so in love and I like used it like and I used like descriptors that were like describing it as like gray or being heavy or something like that tells you the kind of love or at least about the character who feels it, right?
Okay, yeah.
Because we are so used to hearing love being described as like golden light and warm and bright and, you know, floaty feelings, right?
Yeah.
And so I don't think that you necessarily can't use those words, but it would be like a particular like literary expression. I mean, it would be. I'm sorry, I wasn't asking for the term. I just meant like it would be like a unique expression. It would be like juxtaposition, maybe. I don't know, but like you know what I mean. Like we don't have to describe. We don't have to. We don't have to say exactly what it is. I don't know, but my point is like it would be such a different experience from the way love is generally described that we would be able to infer so much from that. Does that make sense?
Okay,
like
yeah.
it wouldn't be
yeah.
a natural like people wouldn't naturally associate it. Does that make sense?
Yeah, and I think if you keep going with that example of like feeling love as a kind of heaviness, then that can kind of like infer some things about the character who has like how they've learned to act around it, how they what their childhood might have been like, you know, and like how they're gonna. I love that.
I do
that
too.
So,
I'm
so
totally thinking about that now.
It's like 100% not what I was thinking though.
Okay, describe to me what you were thinking because obviously we just had our breakthrough with that. We can move on.
Well, see, my thing was like it, and I don't even feel like I have a good enough grasp on this thing that I've been turning over in my head yet. But like, you know, when we have characters who talk about like, I just need to learn how to trust again, and then or whatever, like they talk about a certain problem they're having and that this and they use the language that has been used like you've seen this flaw in all these different books and you've seen it get solved pretty much the same way every time maybe, and I kind of start wondering is like, do we treat this as like this is how it has to be solved in our society, or is it that we don't have like different language around it? Like if we tried to use different words to describe like what the problem is, would we get more insight on it? Which is also like not all that constructive a thought to have.
I think we kind of just like accidentally proved that yes, if you use different words to describe it, you get different insight on it.
Well, yeah, no, of course.
I do think it's really interesting to think about like how I'm so sorry. I'm having one of those nights where like I have a thought and as soon as I start putting it into words, like halfway through the sentence, the thought just is like, no, and just runs off, right?
No, I'm having that exact same night. Like I keep like thinking I've got it in my head and then being like, nah, it's gone.
I'm just gonna just keep on talking and hope something comes out.
Hoping I'll get back to it. No guarantee.
Well, but you made the comment of like something about like our society having like a limited understanding because we don't think of new ways to express this. Did I understand that correctly? Or do we express this way?
I think kind of like, yeah.
Well, I think that
well, so
okay, because like romance as a genre is very structured, right?
Absolutely.
And I think that that's just like something that the readers have gravitated towards and therefore the writers have created, right? So if we look at romance, like, as a romance subplot in other stories, like, do they approach the way they talk about it differently?
Well, so I think stories like that might be more likely to use the sort of societal shorthand we develop for talking about our problems in, like, you know, like, Beat's like, all right, here's the shortcut on how to, like, write a romance arc and, like, the emotional wounds. Here we go. We just have to say, like, these 5 things.
Like, those would be even more, like, on the surface. I'm trying to think of something that wasn't a romance but had a spectacular, like, romance subplot.
I'm sure there are
100%
some.
there are. Because there are definitely, like, stories I have partaken in and been like, oh my god, I'm so into this. But, like, also my brain, again, like, just is not going to supply the information. I don't know. So how would you propose, like, addressing this?
Oh, I have no fucking idea.
Look, I'm just asking questions.
This is what I do all day. I'm just like, what about that? What can we do with that? I provide no answers anywhere I go. God, tonight we were making dinner and I'm sitting at the table right next to the recipe card and I keep asking Austin shit like, do we need to, like, zest this lemon? Do I need to cut it into quarters?
That's fucking hilarious.
Like, no. And then I pointed it out and then I did it again. I was like, oh my god, the recipe card's right next to me. I could just read it for myself. 2 seconds later, do I need to cut this in half?
So funny. Did you have to?
No, I needed to quarter it.
Perfect.
No, and the thing is, like, at work today, I was talking with the guy who, like, you know, he does a lot of technical things, and so every day, like, he comes to me and he's like, we need to change this in the user manual, and I'm like, all right, I will, because I'm the only one who can use the program that will change the things in the stupid manuals. It drives me nuts. So, like, at some point, we were going back and forth on, like, how to best deliver this information, and I had a moment I was like, well, so we need to consider the psychology of the person who's reading this. They've already chosen to read a manual, which I think means we can have a little more confidence in them than we do on our other user guides. And he was like, yeah, I also don't read manuals. And I'm like, okay, cool. Good to
know. Okay. I'm going to come back to our prompt, but come from a different angle.
Yeah, what was I think, I don't even know if we
kind of didn't.
In order. Yeah, no, we kind of, like, ran away from it, as we often do.
So ruminate on what love means and looks like and needs, and having to start at the beginning over and over when writing a romance. So, like, the way I read that prompt is, like, how do you pick this character to be on the page with this other character? And then how do you decide how their challenges fit together? Okay, that's how I read that prompt. Choose my characters, like, on a basic level. Really depends on the trope a lot of times. And then it'll depend on, usually I'll have, like, a sense of, like, what one character's wound is. I don't know. The way I come up with ideas is so, like, not in thought. It's just, like, a feeling. Right? So, like, but, like, when I'm thinking about, like, what one character needs to trust the other one or to trust in love, like, I'll lay down, like, examples of why they wouldn't. Why, like, okay, for example, in the book I'm writing, we have Alicia talking to her best friend who keeps on having this on and off, like, fling with this guy that, like, just really hurts her feelings, like, makes her feel, like, real sad, right? And by seeing that on the page where Alicia's like, let's not do this. How could you trust him after everything he's put you through? Like, now we know that Alicia as a character doesn't feel that, like, someone that could hurt her that much would be able to be trusted, right? So now I have to, like, kind of build the thesis that, like, Remy is a trustworthy person. And I'm thinking about the ways I did that. And I'm like, did I do it? so just over here, just with a scalpel to my story in my brain. Like, let's look inside you.
Well, and so like we were talking about how like our what is the word when you are post-mortem on our second chance romance. You finished yours. I have not finished mine, but like I'm in a phase with it.
I'm in such an editing spot with it that like, is it finished? Like there's so many new things being moved around and changed and stuff like that. It's definitely not feeling like a finished copy.
Yeah.
It's not feeling like a finished book right now.
But so like, would you say like it feels like the emotional matter of the book feels like you bit off more than you can chew a little bit?
No. But I think that the issues in front of my characters are different than the issues in front of yours, right? I also think that like, I think this is why it's like messed me up so much, is because I have had like such a long marriage. I can reflect on like what it feels like to have this lifelong like future and foundation built together, and how much that would just really alter who I am to have it not be there, right? And so I think that's why it messes me up so much to like go through their emotional like journey, because it is such a relatable fear, right? Not that like Andrew and we're great, don't worry, we're good, but like you know, there's so many unknown variables in life, and like tragedy happens, right? Like I think that's why this trope has messed me up so much, and why I don't feel like I've bitten off more than I can chew emotionally, because it's a relatable feeling to me.
Okay, yeah. I think that's kind of like what I'm
the root of what you
struggling with.
What the root of what you meant in this prompt, but that's what you're struggling with.
That's what I'm struggling with similarly in my second chance romance, is that I don't know those things, and so like can't relate.
Yeah.
So I'm like, am I doing it wrong? Am I biting off more than I can chew? And so it's interesting that you've got like a different perspective because of like your different lived experience. Do you feel like we fulfilled the prompt?
I feel like
Do you feel like we've left any... Because, like, you interpreted it as a craft question, and I feel like you often do interpret these things as craft questions when I'm like, how does that make you feel?
Well, then there's also the question of, like, what it looks like and needs, and having to start this process over and over.
Yeah, constantly having to reinterrogate what your idea of what love is, and, like, do you have a profound enough understanding of it? Do you have a deep enough meaning of it? Or do you feel like...
Well, I think...
You just don't. And maybe, like, it is unknowable. And, like...
Well, I think that it's...
And I'm going down this...
It's, like, incredibly multifaceted. But I think that, like, the common, like, thread is that we all want it. You know? And that's why, like...
Yeah.
The readership is there. So I was saying that love is multifaceted, but like, so it does mean that like to one person, like person A's expression of love might be shallow to person B, but it is still their expression of love. Like I read for a book club, a book called Super Sad True Love Story. It was a totally bizarre AF book, but like I remember in the conversation about it, someone was like, well, I just think it's ironic because it's not a love story, right? I was like, well, but it is. Like, to him, this was the love of his life, right? Like, just because it doesn't look the way that, like, most love stories do, or, like, to that reader, the character didn't have reciprocal love. Like it wasn't a love that was received. Like his love was unrequited. Her initial response to it was like, well, but it's not a love story, right? But like all of our realities are individual. And so in redoing a love story over and over, even if this, you know, next book, the love doesn't feel as deep as I'm writing it as the book before, there might be someone else that it resonates with on a much truer level.
Okay.
So I don't worry too much.
That's something that's, like, really interesting to me.
Yeah.
Because, like, also, like, I know I was talking with you about, like, fears of, like, oh no, what if I never do as good as a job as I want to again in the future? You know, like, the fear of, you know, what if this is it?
Okay.
And in that, I think was kind of tucked this idea of, I did not, like, when I look about the writing process for my orc book, I think of it as, like, it was pretty shallow. It was, like, I did not do a lot of deep thinking on, like, the particular emotional wounds. I took something that, like, I had kind of gotten over a long time ago and kind of just tossed it in there. And didn't, like, so I didn't feel like I had to, like, wrench my heart out to, like, get this done. Yeah. And when I, you know, wrote the Gargoyle book, I had to do a lot more internal work because, like, it was stuff that I was still working through. And so when I heard some people be like, oh my god, the orc book is my absolute favorite still, and I was like, for real? There's nothing in there.
That is, you know? Really interesting.
And yeah. And like I just, like, not to, yeah, that was really interesting. I mean, like, it's just,
I didn't take it that way.
I don't. So, like, it's always interesting, like, what people will find more like, what resonates with them better.
Well, now I'm, like, just really curious about, like, what was it about orc that did resonate so much? Was it, like, the accidental attraction?
I think it made better use of its tropes, and I think, like, especially the accidental attraction part, I think it dove right into the good stuff.
It
without
really did.
Feeling like,
yeah, it fit.
Yeah,
like,
no, it 100%.
That was, yeah, okay. We'll have that conversation another time. But okay, but yeah, no, I agree. It dove right into the good stuff. But yeah, as far as, like, starting a romance over and over, I don't think too much on, like, whether or not it is, like, a true expression of love the way I see it, because there will be elements of that in there anyway. And I think that's one of the reasons why I have such a hard time writing characters that are, like, antagonistic, or like all of my characters tend to be rather mature. And it's a lot of it is because, like, in my idea of, like, what love is, it's very much based in, like, a lot of communication, and that is something I'm trying to challenge myself with better, is, like, writing characters that are not so reasonable.
Yeah. No, that's very hard.
It is so hard because they have to be likable still. Like, and one of the things I absolutely hate is, like, when, like, a character tells the other character to, like, go do something and then gets mad at them for it, right? And, like, so my fear in writing something that the characters are not so reasonable is, like, that they'll come off like that, right? Like not that not that specifically would happen, but, like, that they would come off that way, where like, as a reader, I would be like, but you guys just agreed to this, right? Like that would be
right. But, like, one of them was, like, secretly hoping they were just gonna, like, turn around and be like, no, I'm not gonna do that, then, like, because I love you, and like then they didn't get it, and then they're like,
and I think that is a justifiable thing to have a character do, but you have to do a really good job of laying the foundation that could happen, and then also that the character can be redeemed in some way.
There's that layer of, like, making them, like, how reasonable versus unreasonable are you going to make them about it? Like, no, I know I'm in the wrong, or no, fuck it, you should have known.
Yeah,
you know?
Well, and then also, like, if they're unreasonable in that aspect, they have to be hyper reasonable in another aspect, right? Did you ever read, I'm gonna have to look up the title, but I really liked it. I read it this year. I read the Britney Spears memoir. It was fantastic.
I've heard it's good. It's on my list.
It's a good one. Did I read it this year? Jeez, oh Pete, when did I read this? Oh no, I read it last year. Love in the Time of Serial Killers by Alicia Thompson.
I've seen that cover everywhere.
Dude, okay, right, that was so good. I need to read like all of her other books. But that was a great example of like a character. Okay, yeah. You didn't go green, so it made me think that you couldn't. But I'm the one talking. Silly me. So that was a great example of a character that had some very unreasonable behaviors that were incredibly justified, and then like other behaviors that were hyper reasonable, right? And she did such a good job laying that character out. Like, I just felt for her the whole time. That was a great example of exactly what we're talking about. I don't know, Kate. Is there anything else you want to talk about this subject?
Not that I can think of. I'm sure that, like, when I edit this and re-listen to it, I'll be like, why did we talk about that?
I am 100% sure that when I listen to this, I'll be like, there's so much more here. Because this was a prompt I was really looking forward to doing. And then we got here, and I'm like,
I feel like we didn't do it. Like, maybe I'll just cut out all the times we talk about the prompt and then just be like, it's new.
We'll just gaslight listener. Like, no, you haven't heard this before.
Nah. Because we didn't talk about it. We didn't really talk about it.
Kate, do you have a piece of writing advice?
God.
Chompy.
I'm in a writing turmoil because I keep like seeing myself say, these are my values in writing, and then like walking the other direction. And then I'm like, no, why are you doing that? You know, because I'm always like, do the fun thing. And then I'm like, what if like I put off the fun thing for as long as humanly possible. You know, and like, what if I, you know, and it's just driving me nuts because I keep saying like, I don't want my writing to be in like this weird angsty place that it is, and then I just keep writing weird angsty things. and I'm looking at my old books, like, how do I get back to a place where I can just make a bunch of jokes and like be fine with it?
That's really interesting. Sometimes you and I have very mirrored actions. Because I have also been looking at my old books and thinking about like all the like, cute ways that like I showed like them noticing each other. Right? Like, you were always talking about how like stuff like that.
You grow as a writer. Yeah. But like, do we ever talk about how you regress as a writer? Like, you shrink and you suddenly you can't do the things you could before, and you're like, I was so much better at like describing people, and now I can't describe people shit. And
it's like you're like, so much better at the story and the big picture, but you aren't as.
And I feel like I've lost something somewhere else.
I do feel like I struggle with like those little mini moments that really like enrich the story. That I feel really enrich the story. That would be a really interesting conversation to have. Is like,
I think I kind of want to. No, you go.
Having a conversation of like, okay, so taking your early work and thinking about like what is fantastic about it, and is that something you're still doing? Can you bring it back, sort of thing? Okay, what were you gonna say?
I don't know. Like we were having a conversation about changing. Like before the pod, we were talking about changing and growing and accepting growth, or accepting that maybe this is temporary, you know, and just challenging the way you are currently looking at your own problems. Mm-hmm. There's a really beautiful comic that if you've been on Tumblr at any point in the last 10 years, you've probably seen it. It's about one page, and it's something like 12 panels that are more or less all the same. It's a slowly decaying deer body, and it says, it's captioned, how to decay gracefully, or something like that. And then it says like 12 times, lie still, lie still, lie still. And
I've never seen this.
I think about this every goddamn day.
This is my Roman Empire.
It is. It's. I think about like what does lying still mean? What does decaying mean? What does it mean to be graceful in something? I'll send it to you. It's very pretty.
I want to see it. That is a little like tickles my brain. Like I feel like my understanding of it is like just out of reach. Does that make sense?
No, absolutely. I feel like whenever I read like a poem that's like beautifully short and like the fucking icebox poem about the cold plums like haunts me because I sit here thinking like, what, like, is the emotion beautifully simple or is it just like too complex and it's beyond me?
Did you send me that picture of that postcard? It was like a happy holidays postcard. On it said like, I used to live in your house. I didn't have anyone to send a happy holidays to.
I probably sent that to you. Yeah.
That's one that I've thought about a lot too. Listener, it's like a postcard where it says like, used to live in your house. I didn't have anyone to send a happy holidays card to, so I sent it to you. And like,
right, and then the person who posted it was like, this is the most beautiful poem I've ever read. And even though it's like clearly not meant to be a poem, to be interpreted like that is so
I mean, so lovely. That would be
it's like so lonely and so sad.
Yeah. And like my brain is just like taking everything always as like, oh, that would be a really fun foundation for a romance. Right? Like not in like a creepy way or anything, but like maybe they don't know that they happen to work in the same building. Right? Like maybe they don't realize that their like cubicles are right next to each other. And like one person is like obsessed with this postcard that they've received and the other one is like going through, ennui. So, but yeah. Anyway, my brain is always coming up with new stories.
Yeah, no, I'm trying to not come up with new stories.
My new stories don't tend to go anywhere. They just end up being brains.
Cool. All right, Marty, what's your writing advice?
Writing advice. I mean, I guess right now it's just keep chipping away at it. Like, just keep chipping at it. Do what you can when you can. That's it. Like, just keep on digging and getting the ditch dug. Like, sort of thing. Like,
and don't look in the mirror.
What?
And don't
look in the mirror. No. Don't say nice things about you that you are. Only nice things about others. Listener, I am trying to be nice to me too. I promise. I am. I'm trying. There's just so many things you don't know about yourself.
Right.
Yeah. It's so hard to see you. But Kate, where can listener find you?
Kate-Pryor.com. It's always been a dash. I don't know if I've ever said dot before.
I don't know.
And I'm at by Kate Pryor in all the places, all the socials. Books on Amazon. That's it. Newsletter. Yeah. How about you, Marty?
Well, I am at Marty V Author on Instagram and TikTok. And then you can go to martyv.com and sign up for my newsletter. And you can get the prequel of Elijah, and Hazel. And then you can read their book afterwards, which is really cool. You should do both of those things. And whoop whoop. That's the show, folks. So that's all. Listener,
Bye,
be nice to yourself. Bye.